iTestify is about testifying of what Jesus Christ has done and can do in each of our lives. Through testimony of people just like you, and through study of His Word, our prayer is to encourage each follower of Christ to be a light in this world. So let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16.
Hello and welcome to iTestify. We're very happy to have you joining us today. And we're also happy that JR, our friend, has come to visit us.
Hi.
Thank you for
Hello.
being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Well, you are here to share with us about a ministry that has made a big impact in your life.
Yes.
So let's start off there.
Okay.
What was that ministry and...
Well, the ministry is called GYC Southwest,
Okay.
or Generation of Youth for Christ, and they have this annual conference called SWYC, or Southwestern Youth Conference.
Well, just give it a little more context. So GYC is an annual event that takes place in the U.S. It's been a big event.
Yes.
And then they have smaller versions locally
Yes.
for territories.
Yes. So
and that is what SWYC is, or GYC Southwest.
yes. So basically, GYC, Generation of Youth for Christ, is this big youth conference event that happens yearly. And then we have the Southwestern area, which is GYC Southwest.
That also happens
That happens
yearly.
annually as well, yes.
And SWYC is the ministry that primarily first impacted your life.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well,
that
tell us
ministry.
about that.
Well, I guess to start off, at that time when we were invited to attend SWYC, our youth has already been kind of starting to read the Bible, getting into Bible studies every Tuesday nights, I believe. And we were just hungry and thirsty for, I guess, Jesus Christ, and for just the truths that are found in the Word. And
So to clarify, when you say we, you're talking about the youth at the church.
the young
that you
people
went
at our
to?
church, yes,
Okay.
the young people at our church. And so, and then a couple of our friends who were from another church, they had attended GYC, the big event, and then they found out about the local event here in our in the Southwestern Youth area. And they invited us to go. For some reason, they convinced our church leaders to sponsor our young people to go. I wasn't even aware that we were actually going because I was coming from a conference in Indiana. I was coming back.
So you had just moved.
Well, no. As I'm a nurse by profession, and so at that time we had a conference in Indiana for my job, and so the young people had already gone. I came in, and I mean, so to start off the testimony, I guess is. So I came in late at night. I drove. My parents had told me, hey, you know what? All the young people in the church are gone. Here's the address, and then go.
Just go.
And it was like, at that time, I mean, I didn't have any GPS or anything like that. And I just looked at mapquest.com. I got the directions. And then for some reason, I mean, it's pretty difficult to actually go there. I mean, the area where they have the conference is in Pine Springs Ranch, mountainous area, beautiful area. And I mean, to navigate through that at night is really difficult. And so, but for some reason, didn't get lost. I just kept driving. I ended up at the place. I really believe that maybe God really wanted me to be there. But when I got there, it was a bad time because it was at, I believe, 3 a.m. No one was awake. I didn't know where our cabin was or our lodge was. I tried to call someone on the intercom. No one picked up. And so I said, oh, what's going on?
You just slept in the lobby?
I ended up sleeping in the lobby, the couch of the lobby. And I didn't even know what was happening. They had a meeting at, I believe, at around maybe 6 or 7 a.m. And I heard that people were singing. So I attended that meeting. I mean, I had no expectations coming in. I've been to many conferences before, youth conferences, and usually it's just socialization, and here I am, I'm really hungering for the Word. And I just want to know what what truth is and what God has out there for me. And so I heard the singing. I sat down in the meeting. It was a big voice from a speaker coming at that time.
Who was the speaker? Do you remember?
It was Peter Gregory.
Oh, Peter Gregory.
Peter Gregory. I mean, he had this
Deep.
crazy deep bass voice. And then I sat down. He told us to open the Bible. I opened my Bible. And from there, it's just like, what is this? That was my experience. Like, I've never heard messages being preached like this before, where the Bible is coming out alive. The Bible is speaking for itself. And then the young people that I was with, I'm surprised because they were saying amen. They were saying praise the Lord, which is, something that's very, very foreign to me. And just throughout the whole experience, the way we would talk about it in our young people, it was like heaven on earth. That was our first experience with SLBYC. It felt like it was heaven on earth because even our interactions with the other young people, it wasn't just social, it was more on the spiritual aspect. And at the end, they made a challenge for the young people, actually an appeal for the young people. And that's actually my first time, the first time that I, for myself, had given myself to God 100%. I surrendered my all to God. It just made it easier. Just the atmosphere, being with young people who had the same spirit, it made it easier for myself and also for the young people that came in with me. Yeah.
So the ones that came with you or that you met there, because they were already there.
Yes.
Did they make the same commitment as you? They're going to give their lives over to Christ 100%, or was that more unique to you?
That was the interesting part. It wasn't just me, actually. It was our young people. It was me, my then girlfriend at that time, one of my best friends at church, a couple of my best friends at church, and my sister, who was also there. And her experience was very interesting as well, because she was forced by my parents, by our parents to go, and she had like projects in school that she had to do, and she had no expectations. She was forced to be brought in there, and that was the turning point in her life as well. She had given herself. I remember we all came up to the appeal, went up to the stage. She was crying, and now my sister is a Bible worker.
Wow.
And so, this ministry just really,
And this is what year?
This was the year 2008.
2008, so 11 years later, the commitments are still on fire, and she's involved in ministry.
Yes, she was high school at that time. When she graduated high school, she attended a Bible school and then just been Bible working ever since.
I think that's really interesting what you said. You made mention of the fact that it wasn't, obviously it wasn't just you as the group of young people, but that the young people were supporting each other too.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great differentiation to make, because, there are those times when it's peer pressure and people make a commitment. Yeah. But here you're talking about the flip side of this, which we don't actually, I think, get to hear maybe as often, that where the young people or people in general just are supporting and encouraging and then helping to equip each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. My then girlfriend at that time, we were going through a rocky time in our relationship, and we didn't know what was missing, but to look back, we were missing God. We were missing Christ in the picture. And at that time, I made my commitment with God, and I even planned to make the talk with her that, hey, you know what, if you don't make that same commitment, I think it's best that we part. But little did I know, she was making that same commitment with God on her own. And then, we had the talk. I didn't know she made that commitment. We submitted our relationship to God. And it was interesting to know, maybe, I guess it's kind of like a cliche, but we got married in that same ranch, Pine Springs Ranch. That's where we got our conversion experience, and that's also where we got married.
So your then girlfriend is now your wife.
Yes. Yes. So I guess what a way to put that special mark in our relationship, to get married in the same spot where we gave ourselves to Christ.
What's also cool about your experience is, as you were mentioning, you have young people, helping further along your experience, but also that you weren't being forced. I mean, you were originally forced by your parents, but you took it on as your own. You owned it. It became your experience. So, then that allows God to open doors in your life where you can get involved and actually keep going forward in your walk rather than you feeling like, I'm being forced, I don't like this, I don't want this.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was, the big thing was we were searching. We tried different conferences and it just didn't work. And the reason why it was more like we were being forced to go to, it's just, we had an expectation, we're gonna go there, we're just gonna socialize and then not learn anything.
Right.
And not really have this connection, spiritual connection with people. And I've been thinking about that, like what made this ministry or what made this conference actually work. And I remember of a verse in the Bible. It's in Acts chapter 2. Because we've been in different conferences where everybody's just praying and studying the Bible, but it kind of didn't do it for us. It kind of made us aloof over some people because we felt like it wasn't genuine. But in Acts chapter 2, verse 42, my Bible actually has a subtitle that says Habits of the Early Church. And it says here, and they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship and in breaking of bread and in prayers. And so, just reading this verse, it wasn't just Bible study prayer that was being done, but like the people socializing with people made the Bible study and the prayer kind of have this powerful effect towards our young people. And so the young people that are hungering and thirsting for truth, being able to be mingled with same type of people that has the same passion for Christ, it kind of made it easier for us to just, hey, this is it. You know what? Let's commit ourselves to God. And so, I think that's a very good platform, and that's what this ministry has on their annual conferences, where they get to not just listen to the Word, have prayer time, but also have time to socialize with like-minded people who are in the ministry, who are doing stuff for the Lord.
Yes, something that strikes me is that your church definitely had put an emphasis on reaching the youth in the church. They were not only just, they didn't just want to reach them with music, like get the music in the church and the kids will love it and they'll come. But no, they realized that there was something that the church itself needed to offer them that maybe they couldn't do that, and that was a conference that was not focused on music, although music is great, but focused on Scripture. And when you guys came back, and there had to have been a total transformation that the church saw.
Oh yeah.
How did they receive it, and were they glad to see the changes? And
when we came back, especially the older folks, the elders of the church, they were surprised. Because we took over the program the next week we came back and gave our testimonies about the messages that we've heard, the commitments that we had made, and from that point on, each of us were actually nominated to be leaders of the church, and so our church fully supported, and they saw that, hey, there's a revival amongst our young people that's happening, and that same year, we invited almost maybe more than half, maybe 2/3 of the church to go to the big annual event, GYC. And we took caravans, we convoyed, and we brought our most of our church there. And they enjoyed it. It was an atmosphere of revival in our church that happened at that time. Yeah.
Wow,
Definitely.
praise God.
Yeah, amen.
That's very, but they were willing to invest. Because they didn't say, we heard about this event, you guys should go. They actually paid for you guys to go.
Exactly.
It invested in it.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, up to this time, I don't remember paying anything at all for that event. So at least I'm assuming that our church covered everything. Because now when we have our young people go, they pay half. The other attendees would pay half. But at that time, I think they just paid for everything because I didn't pay anything. And so, definitely the support of the church was there, and it helped facilitate this atmosphere of revival and reformation for our young people.
That's good.
And so you came back to your home church, and obviously the fire didn't die. It wasn't just like a high mountaintop experience. It sustained itself. So
Yes.
please tell us how it sustained itself.
So, as I said, we became part of the church ministry because that's actually GYC Southwest. That's their main emphasis is for the young people to get involved in church ministries. And so we did get involved in church ministries and became a youth leader, a Sabbath school teacher. Now I've been ordained as an elder of the church, and also some of the young people then they were invited to be part of this ministry, GYC Southwest. They were actually before me, and then they invited me to be part of the ministry as well. And up to this point, this is going to be my 6th year, or maybe seventh year of being involved in GYC Southwest. At this time, I'm currently the director of the ministry, running on, I think, 5 years now. And I've seen God bless so much, of what happened in my life and being emulated and being duplicated in other people's lives. And I'm so blessed to see that happen to other young people as well.
It's always good to see the circle come back where, what once touched you and changed your life, now you're involved in doing that same
Right.
thing. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You see the power that it has.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you have some photos
Oh
to
yeah.
show us as well.
So basically, I just want to show, what the event is like, as far as how it looks like, and so
So this is Pine Springs Ranch.
this happens in Pine Springs Ranch, and annually we had tried to make it a point that it would occur in Pine Springs Ranch, just because having the environment, it's a totally different environment. It's outside of the city. It's like a mountain retreat where people can come in.
It's about an hour, a little more than an hour away
Yeah.
from Loma Linda, I believe.
It is quite a drive. It is quite a drive, an hour away. But it's
Definitely doable in a day.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable in a day. So, going back to our slide, we have a picture here. This is basically how the event goes. Because of the amount, the number of attendees that we have to have a tent. Basically, it's kind of like a camp meeting, and you'll see how beautiful the environment is, the scenery, and I think it adds on to the experience as well. And going on to the next slide. So, this is how it looks like inside the tent. This is basically a picture of when, I think this is when appeals are being made. And so you can, I just want to kind of show how the experience would like for people who would like to come or who are wondering what the experience is like. We also have the big tent event, but we break out into small sessions. I'm going to move forward to then small sessions where people just kind of deal with practical topics. Speakers deal with practical topics, like this one is how to handle your money.
So you have breakout sessions where smaller groups can meet to discuss certain areas, but there's multiple options to choose from.
Yes, multiple options to choose from, like, hey, how to handle your finance, courtship, dating, and marriage.
Very practical.
Yeah, so they do have some practical things. Also, they have sessions wherein they get to learn about natural remedies, medical missionary work, and things like that. It's just really equipping the young people and empowering them that, hey, you know what? God can use you in many magnificent ways, and here are some avenues that maybe God is calling you to do. So that's an event. Just maybe a few highlights that I also would like to talk about is, we share our testimony night. So the event is more like, yes, it is social, but also intimate, wherein you get to share your testimony. It's not just the speakers, the members of the ministry, but other young people can also come up and speak about their testimony and how God has been working in their lives in that event. Here's another picture of the testimony of a group of young people who went hiking in the area. So again, like I said, that adds into the experience, just being out in nature, going hiking with other young people, socializing, kind of like what the verse has said, fellowshipping with one another, and also eating with one another, because the food there is good as well. Actually, I never made a point in my life when I went there. I said, you know what, I'm not going to be a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian. But we've been eating nothing but vegetarian food that weekend. And I said, you know what, let me try it for a week. And I've been vegetarian ever since.
Wow.
So
Is that the first time you went?
since that first time I went.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that not only changed, well, that changed more than one aspect of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it changed many aspects of our lives. So we owe a lot to the ministry, our young people, my wife and I. And that's why we want to bring back, and I mean, we want to put back whatever the ministry has given us. That's what we're doing.
So aside from, I mean, you have different speakers coming through and young people showing up, but there's still conferences out there that do similar things. Is there anything that makes GYC Southwest more unique than maybe other conferences that are local to join?
I think really what makes it unique, especially GYC Southwest, is that just retreat type of experience, wherein you're enclosed into this one area where there's no outside influences.
Because there's no cell reception.
Exactly, there's no cell reception.
We
I was
all
going to
know
talk about that
from
because that
firsthand
might.
experience.
So there's no cell reception, and I hope people won't be deterred from coming because of that, because that adds into the experience. Wherein I hate to use the word forced, but you're forced to mingle with one another. You're forced to talk to people and make genuine relationship with one another, and you're here with them. They with kind of like the same intent, with them wanting to be equipped, and it just facilitates this environment wherein after you come down the mountain, kind of like when the disciples would have that mountaintop experience with Christ, and they would come down the mountain, like that transfiguration experience. It's like they've never been the same afterwards, and so that's what it is. Another unique aspect in our ministry, in this ministry, is it's a platform wherein other ministries can also be spotlighted. Wherein, because many young people, they don't know what other ministries out there, and GYC Southwest, I think, is a platform where they can they can tell other young people about their ministries, and another
GYC is just something you can attend, but it's not something you can get involved in. But there's things throughout the year in other various parts where people can participate in that ministry.
Yes.
So they can keep going.
Yes. Yes. I guess another aspect that I want to talk about regarding the ministry is many people have been, ever since I've been involved with GYC Southwest, they said, hey, how can we bring this to our church? Or young people would come up to us and say, hey, we don't know what to do afterwards. I don't know how it would look like bringing the GYC experience into our church. And one of the things that we do is we do weekend revivals with the church. And we basically kind of reformat the program and then cater it to the church, so that the young people can see, hey, they can see and get involved in the whole process of the whole thing, so that they can emulate what happened up there in the mountain into their churches.
That's good. And
Yeah.
how often do you do that in the year?
We go by invitation, so we try to do at least one every quarter. But the more invitations we have, we've done, I think the most we've done in a year is probably 5 different church revivals in local churches. We also try to get ourselves involved with other ministries like health expos. We help out in health expos, and just really, just using whatever avenues of ministries to bridge others to Christ.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
So for someone who's looking at this and they're interested, is there a way that they can perhaps see upcoming events or maybe even get involved in other ones?
Yes. So basically, we do have a website. It's gycsouthwest.org. We're also on social media, Facebook and Instagram, I believe. We do have a Twitter account. I'm not sure how active it is, but and then we have the yearly event that happens. It's always on Labor Day weekend.
Long weekend.
Yeah.
The long weekends, yeah. And so it's going to be, I think, August the 31st to September 2nd, I believe. And the theme that we have for this coming conference is the power of truth. It's based on 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 7, by the word of God and by the power of God. And so if they want more information, it's on the website. And we have a lot of room. So just come. And if money is a problem, we always try to not make finance as an issue, especially for young people. I mean, that's one of the core issue for young people attending these places. It's money, but we try to not make that a problem.
Now, of course, primarily, the best kind of experience would be to go for the whole long weekend. But what if
Yes.
people can only come for part of the time?
And that's actually totally fine. Sabbath is actually usually the biggest number of attendees that we have, and it's always free. So you're more than free and welcome to come. Some churches, what they do, hey, instead of doing their church in their local church, just a small church, they'll close their church and then just attend there because it's a nice mountain retreat as well. We've had families who have used this as their yearly retreat. And, you know, I mean, it's not just for the young people now. Our ministry has seemed to have grown not just for the young people, but for families and older folks as well.
And God definitely preserved this place. I mean, there was that fire there, what, was that 3 years ago?
3 years
That's
ago.
right.
Yeah.
Actually, last year they had a fire as well.
Another fire.
Yeah. God has.
Some of the buildings burned. I think it's the one's house.
Yes, that was 3 years ago. Yeah.
But it's still there, and I think that for this, maybe just for this exact purpose, that GYC needs to continue on and have that mountaintop experience.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
it's very good.
Yeah.
Well, did you have any other pictures you wanted to share?
That's pretty much it. That's all the pictures that we have. I hope that people would come and join us for the experience.
I've been there before and I've always enjoyed it. So
Praise the
thank
Lord.
you for leading out.
Yes, and thank you also for bringing up the verse in Acts 2, with one accord, keeps on being repeated there by Luke. And I think that you've described to us what that is at GYC Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, JR, we want to thank you for coming and sharing about, not only how this ministry has changed your life, but how you're involved in using it to share others and change their lives. And we want to invite our attendees, our viewers, our viewers to think about joining if you haven't already. And I can say that I've been, and Christy and Aaron have also been. It's a blessing. Keep it in mind, and also advertise at your church. And we ask that you'd also keep us in your prayers as this ministry continues to bless others and share what God is doing in their lives.